Hey, what's up, everybody? Gonna give a chance for this live broadcast to get underway. My name is Andrew Ricketts, aka Drew Breeze. I'm a writer and blogger from sites like BET.com, Mass Appeal, Uproxx is Dime Magazine, and others. I also write my blog at medium.com/Drew Breeze. Anyway, I want to get into this live, and the topic of today's live video cast is Nicki Minaj. Is she falling off? And the 5 ways to tell whether or not the Queen, as her album is titled, whether the Queen is falling off. Now, one thing to note is that the true Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, just passed away this week. Aretha Franklin had one of the most amazing voices, one of the most powerful and versatile voices ever in music history. And I mean that both tonally and musically, in terms of her melodies and in terms of Aretha Franklin's power as a social activist, her power as a social commentator, and just as an honest black auntie that you didn't want to mess with. We really lost a great one, and she leaves a legacy behind that will be very hard to match. I think it will be very hard to live up to the standard that Aretha Franklin set for us, but I think we should all strive to the excellence that she set forth. Anyway, jumping into the topic. So, 5 reasons or 5 ways to tell if Nicki Minaj is falling off. So a lot of discussion has gone into this idea that Nicki Minaj's recent album, Queen, also titled Queen, like our Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, is not living up to even her own expectations. And because it's not living up to her expectations, Nicki Minaj has been more vocal, more outspoken about her feuds in rap, about the ways she feels underrated and undervalued, not appreciated. And then also, maybe a little left of those things, how she feels she's being ganged up on and potentially blackballed because of her status as a black woman, and also because of, who knows, some other fictional factors that she believes are holding her back. But I think the real ways to tell if Nicki Minaj is falling off are obvious, and here's one. So, her record sales. It's very, very hard to get to the top 5 spot in album sales in this country. Music fans have so many options, more than ever before. And even though Nicki Minaj complained and had a Twitter rant calling out Travis Scott for claiming #1 when she says that he bundled his album Astroworld with Kylie Jenner's tour tickets to get that #1 sales spot, I think #2 is a fine position to be in. Nicki Minaj is dropping in the dead of summertime when there's a lot of competition with quality rap albums. J. Cole released his album at the top of summer, and he has a solid, incredible fan base. Cardi B also has some summer bops that are popping right now in the hood. Every time I walk around East Harlem, I hear "I Like It Like That." And not to mention sleeper albums like Royce the 5'9" with Book of Ryan, which is it's just an incredible piece of work and probably his best. And albums like Cavalier's Private Stock, which has continued to gain steam throughout the spring and summer. So there are a slew of amazing quality albums out there, and Nicki Minaj has managed, even with all the streaming options that there are available, to be #2, not #1, sure. And if you are someone with high standards, then you will want #1, but #2 is just as great. It's not like sports championships where only one person benefits from being at the top. Nicki Minaj is still very much a champion, having the #2 spot in sales, and she is very much a self-sustained business. So that is one indication that she's not, in fact, falling off, that her album sales are right up at the top with some of the more popular and newer artists like Travis Scott and J. Cole, for instance. The second reason that we know Nicki Minaj's relevance is still intact is that any given day, when there is a Twitter story, when there's a news story on social media about Nicki Minaj, it trends. And I say that because it's important to note that cultural relevance is a huge part of how hip-hop artists gain success. Hip-hop is not just about the music, as we know. It's about your artist persona, and if you're connecting with your audience, if the things that you do make people feel something, you are in fact culturally relevant. And every time there is a Nicki Minaj story, whether it's about her Twitter feed, or it's about her sales, or it's about a performance she did, like her recent VMAs performance, that trends. Nicki Minaj is constantly trending, and it's not trending always negative or because negativity is what drives these online and social trends. Not at all. In fact, her fans come out in strong support of her each day, and they come out to make sure that others know how Nicki Minaj is dominating the charts still. The third reason Nicki Minaj may not be falling off in the way that people think. Nicki Minaj is just as creative and sharp as a rapper as she's ever been. In fact, although I would say Queen is not her strongest album by far, I think The Pink Print is her peak artistic work and will stand as her peak artistic work for many years. She's still dropping gems and bars. Like Nicki Minaj, we remember her from peaking on a song like Monster, Kanye West's Monster from My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which put her in the upper echelon of guest verses ever. You know, Nicki Minaj kind of occupied that same space as Busta Rhymes or Lil Wayne or even Drake in having some of the best guest verses that people remembered even though they weren't her song. And that guest verse where she spits that amazing, incredible set of bars and kind of deads all the competition and blows everyone else in the song out of the water. Nicki Minaj is bringing those same kinds of bars to this album, Queen. Now, they aren't as consistent throughout, and I think that is one thing that has a lot of fans and just hip-hop observers concerned, that has our ears perked, that Nicki Minaj, though she brings a lot of great bluster to a track, she's always able to deliver complex bars, cadences, and flows. And on a song like Fifi, she shows that she can switch her flow. And even on the recent songs like Motorsport, she's been versatile and she's shown that her cadence game is impeccable. And she can go bar for bar with any rapper, with any style of rap. She can do triple time flows like Migos. She can do bare bones flows, and she can also take it back to the heart of rap that she was born and originated from, which is that sort of New York style that she goes into where she stuffs bars with lots of syllables and rhymes. That is still intact. Nicki Minaj stands up as one of the best technical rappers ever, including people like Eminem, who use speed to basically highlight how great they are at putting words together. And Nicki Minaj is no different. She's been technically one of the most precise and entertaining rappers, especially when you include things like vocal inflection, which she uses to turn her verse like this and become Roman and adapt to what's happening in the culture and the trends. Because she also gets like this on a song like Barbie Dreams. She can get in a very high pitch that's nasally, like a Kendrick Lamar sort of range, and then she can go very low and sound like Biggie, and nothing is lost in the tenor of the flow. So that's the third reason Nicki Minaj is continuing to be relevant and strong. The fourth reason why I think Nicki Minaj is still a very palpable and relevant artist is that aside from rap music, she's still very relevant. So outside of music, the products that she's attached to, like her perfume, clothing that she rocks, even though I don't particularly get into her personal clothing and aesthetic style, she can drive sales with her personality and brand image. And if you are falling off, it's almost impossible to drive sales of another product with your image. So Nicki Minaj is yet again dominating in that category. The fifth reason, this is the fifth and final reason why Nicki Minaj is still extremely relevant and not falling off, is her show on Beats Radio. So Nicki Minaj has been able to go cross-platform. Just in the last few weeks, she's done a Crown interview with Tidal and Elliott Wilson, and she's premiered her Queen radio show on Beats One. Now, Apple Music and Tidal and these platforms rely on exclusive artists to provide them access and content as they're rolling out their albums. And they do not bring artists who don't do numbers. Nicki Minaj does huge numbers. Not to mention her Instagram following, her social media following is incredible. It's huge. And you can't have a decline, a significant decline, if those brands are still reaching out to you to push their content. So Apple Music, which is on everyone's phone who has an iPhone, they don't need to do favors for people. Nicki Minaj is on Apple Music and releases a podcast on Apple Music because there is interest. Apple Music knows that it will drive traffic to their platform, to their app. And so those 5 reasons, they're very basic, but it's proof in the pudding that Nicki Minaj has been one of the more relevant artists of our time and continues to be. Now, that part's over. Nicki Minaj has shown signs of personal unraveling. And in fact, one of the things that I think she's fallen short at doing in her music is going into the personal aspects of her life that make any artist's music more relatable. Instead, she's gone more for the aesthetic, the pageantry, the effect of voice, when she could talk about her difficult relationships over the last few years with people like Meek Mill and Drake, and obviously now Safari, who is his own television star in his own right. Nicki Minaj has seemed to avoid some of that material in her music, opting to instead inflate this image more and more of her as the queen, of her as untouchable, of her as bulletproof. I do believe her brand is very strong, but I don't think that she's bulletproof, and I don't think that straying away from the personal has helped her. And in fact, what's happened with the personal aspects of her life is that they've leaked out into places like the Twitter rants and now the podcast, and it makes her seem sort of insecure as an artist when she has all this power. One of the more telling tweets that she put out this week, she accused the record label industry of blackballing her and excluding her. And I think that's ironic considering Nicki Minaj has oppressed other women in hip-hop. She's called other women out behind the scenes and above board and made herself the enemy of any woman who would claim to be a prominent figure in hip-hop. And I think that's coming back to bite her. I think that will be a cause of her eventual decline because fans want to relate. They want to relate to you. And I don't think there are many people, even if you tout confidence, there are not many people who want to be confident at the expense of everyone else. And I think that's usually the problem with Nicki Minaj, is that she's been confident and competent at the expense of. And if she could find the inner strength to lift herself up without tearing others down, I think she could remain in a very high position in rap for a long time. But because she hasn't done that, people are now whispering about the decline, the downfall, the pettiness of Nicki Minaj. And I think if the girl who was at LaGuardia High School in New York, the girl who I first saw coming into her womanhood at the end of the 2000s, and around 2009, if we can just get that person to give this person who's ultra famous a wake-up call, and to remember why she's relatable, why that girl from Queens is relatable, and that attitude and that kind of stank New York, I don't give a F, but I still have my peoples, I still ride from my peoples. If she can still do that in a way that's relatable, and in her music, she'll be able to sustain a long time career as one of the top MCs in hip hop. But if she continues to show that her personal life is causing her to unravel and deteriorate, and also causing her not to focus on the parts of her music that need to be developed and polished, then yeah, of course, like anyone, she'll decline. And everyone does decline. And let's remember that a decade of dominance in any genre is very hard to do. And she has done that, and she still has more left in the tank, I believe. But Nicki Minaj is certainly not falling off, and because of the 5 reasons I just listed, she's not even close. But because of how the media likes to treat black women, you will see many stories in the next few weeks, months, maybe even year about her decline. But really, her decline is just part of what I think will be eventual maturing that she has to do. Anyway, my name is Andrew Ricketts, aka Drew Breeze. You can check me out here, subscribe to my YouTube page. You can also check me out on Facebook.com/Drew Breeze. I'm on Medium at Drew Breeze, and I have lots of content about hip hop, about sports, and about social justice and society. I love anyone who takes the time to view this video. I'm obviously working on my delivery style and what I want to talk to everyone about, but I'm really, really happy to be doing this. So please take the time to subscribe to my channel when you have the chance, and I'll be putting up lots more content on this YouTube page. Thank you. Goodbye.